Welcome to the Unmistakably Magic Podcast. I'm RJ.
And I'm Cort.
We are two lifelong fans of Disney parks and all theme parks.
Each week, we bring you the latest news from Disney parks and beyond.
Plus, this week we'll be talking more about my recent trip to Walt Disney World and all of the new attractions that I got to experience.
The new things you got to experience.
That's true.
Because it had been a little bit since you last visited the world.
It had been 3 years, so there's some new things.
There are lots of new things that
There's a lot that I didn't get to do either. So
Yeah.
We're talking about the things I got to do.
Yeah, so last week we talked about kind of your
Hurricane.
experience at Disney World with Hurricane Irma. So that did cut out 2 days of your trip overall. So sadly, that restricted to what you could and could not do.
Yeah.
But I think you got the main highlights.
I think I did.
So I'm stoked to listen to hear what you got to experience.
Well, let's kick it off with some news. It's episode 63.
You know, I made this my alarm in the morning, and
That gets old fast.
I'm starting to not like this song anymore.
I did that one year when we went to World, and I set it to like the Lion King, that one, and I was like, by the end of the week, I was like, this is stop it,
song on the planet.
shut up, no more. I want to sleep in.
Yeah, I need to change it soon.
Yeah,
It's only been a week, and I'm not a fan of it.
no, it ruined songs.
It sucks how that happens.
Yeah.
Well, Universal Studios Japan will be bringing Final Fantasy and Sailor Moon to life in 2018. Final Fantasy will be coming to life in the form of a virtual reality roller coaster that takes guests aboard an airship that hops between different Final Fantasy worlds. Final Fantasy XR will open from January 19th through June 24th, 2018. And there haven't been any details about the Sailor Moon attraction, except that it will open in spring of 2018.
Cool.
I'm curious which coaster they're going to VRify, because they only have 2 or 3 over there.
So really, it's kind of a big chunk of their,
Yeah, it's pretty much just changing one coaster, one of their main attractions into
Although
this.
it's only a 6-month run.
Yeah, it's a
so,
limited run of
yeah.
it, but still, I mean, and Final Fantasy is a huge franchise.
Yeah, that's going to bring a lot of people in, I'm sure.
Especially over in Japan.
Yeah. Same with Sailor Moon, too.
Yeah. I wish Universal in the States would do this. Like some limited engagement attraction types like this. How cool would that be to see, like...
Well, I know you enjoyed when Tower of Terror was Tower After
Tower
Dark
Terror
or
was
whatever.
After Dark and stuff. So these limited engagement attractions are just so much fun, and I really think theme parks aren't utilizing them as much as they could be.
I
feel
imagine
like,
we're going to see more though with VR.
Well, we Universal Studios Japan has already been doing this since like 2005 or 15. I forget. I think it's probably 15.
10-year difference.
And it is a huge difference, but where they brought like Titanfall in last year.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about
on
that
VR
a little bit.
or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it was just like a 3D or 4D film or something, some kind of experience with that. So they do a ton of really like pop culture, really cool stuff, and I would love to see that come over to the U.S. Maybe we could see some of that when Nintendo World opens.
Yeah, I almost wonder, like, if there's a new release coming.
I
want to
be Samus Aran. Put me in that suit. You could do it with VR. That'd be so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Get on that Universal and Nintendo. Shoot. Metroid is like my favorite Nintendo franchise. And
You made that abundantly clear when we talked about Universal's Nintendo announcement.
Please bring that over. Well, the Disney Store Online has rebranded to Shop Disney. The new website now features new brands as well as co-branded products and collaborations. The website will also sell park-exclusive merchandise. Fingers crossed they throw the Epcot 35 stuff on there, because it has yet to show up on the Shop Disney Parks app, like they said it would.
Yeah.
I really want that shirt. I just want that orange shirt. And that's about it. However, speaking of Epcot and merchandise, see that transition there?
It's beautiful.
It's magical, right?
Magical. Unmistakably magical.
It's unmistakably magical. A special edition Figment Funko Pop will be released exclusively at Epcot for its 35th anniversary on October 1st. That's on Sunday. And it's super limited, so if you want it,
Be there.
be there and be there early.
Yeah.
Although I have noticed that people over at Disney World aren't as merchandise crazy as the people over at Disneyland are.
I think it's kind of what we've talked about it before. I think it's the whole local versus...
Just the demographic.
There are going to be locals in Florida, but I think so many of us travel from other places to go to World that we aren't there all the time to see all the new merchandise or get all excited about merchandise. And when we come, we're on vacation and we're not like...
I need merch.
Yeah.
Give me the merch. Although if I go, well... If Epcot's still celebrating their 35th when I'm there,
Yeah.
I'm definitely picking up Epcot 35th merch.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like,
No, there's certain things like that I could see.
where like if you're there,
Like even
yeah,
that,
why not?
Even a special edition Figment Funko would be kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, that'd be sweet to just add to any collection or start a collection.
Yeah,
Really,
I don't have any of them.
no,
So
neither do I.
the first and probably only up here on the shelves somewhere.
the only Funko.
Yeah.
Well, some familiar characters have gotten a little bit of an upgrade over at Disneyland. Talking Mickey, Minnie, and Donald have all been spotted over at California Adventure. While this meet and greet is currently in a test mode, go ahead and keep an eye out for the trio next time you're at the Disneyland Resort, because it looks like it was very successful, and it looks like they'll be popping up sometime soon. And this was the first time that Minnie and Donald have ever talked.
Yeah, I was about to say, because there's Magician Mickey
Yeah, and
over
Mickey-
at World.
Mickey has also, Talking Mickey has appeared a few times over at California Adventure as well. And this is also the first time that non-face characters have interacted with each other at a meet and greet ever.
True,
at a
yeah,
Disney
because they
park.
can actually,
They can chit-chat with each other. So it's...
You can tell it's definitely scripted, because there was a video.
A
I know
little
Inside
bit.
the Magic put out a video.
Yeah, by Disney Panda?
Something like that.
Something
Yeah,
like
they
that,
definitely took.
yeah.
It was somebody else's video that they were kind of reposting, but
Yeah.
it was like they were kind of involving the guest in the story. It was kind of interesting to watch.
It was
but-
a really cool interaction, kind of egging the guest on to produce kind of the most typical responses.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, they just kind of, it was a little awkward.
Yeah.
But it was still a really cool meet and greet. And if this is just a test of it, then yeah, I can understand, okay, here's...
I've always wondered, why don't we have like the Turtle Talk with Crush? I guess probably just the voice. But I'm wondering with like
Well, then it's just push
some
the
of the
talking
advan-
trash can.
well, that's what I mean. But yeah, like a Mickey that can have any conversation you want. You know,
Well,
I'm wondering if as technology increases with the audio and stuff.
I think there you just have to synchronize the person in the suit who's doing the puppetry with whatever response someone else is giving, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. Is
But you could mimic whoever's. Well, yeah, that'd be the
issue. That'd be the
Yeah.
hard part about it.
would be the hands, because you could do the face based on whoever's speaking, though.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
you
you
can
could-
do that pretty
you know, you
easily.
could
Just do the map the mouth to whatever.
Map the mouth on the speaker. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But the hands and the motions and stuff,
Yeah.
like you have no idea what someone's gonna say. Mickey, how old are you? Well,
I'm 22.
I'm 24. No, you're not. Well, Universal Hollywood has revealed pretty much all the details about Christmas in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. The Christmas celebration will take place from November 24th through January 7th and will feature a dazzling nightly light projection spectacular on Hogwarts Castle, new holiday songs performed by the Frog Choir, special Christmas foods will be served throughout the land, and new Christmas merch will be available, including Hogwarts Castle's snow globes.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
The only thing that I'm really intrigued about.
Yeah.
Give me the snow globe.
Yeah.
This is really cool though, because they're doing this in addition to Grinchmas.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're not ending Grinchmas. This is
I
in
thought maybe
addition
they
to
would,
it.
but
So this is props to you, Universal.
Which I guess
This is cool.
Grinchmas caters to, not
A
specifically,
younger
but
audience,
maybe
but
caters to a
yeah.
younger audience, and then this will cater to the Harry Potter fans. So
the Potterheads.
the Potterheads. Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I don't know. It's also like I think the Grinchmas takes place on the back lot, where this is just in the land or the world,
yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
World. Half world.
Yeah. Half, Generous.
But it's just really cool that they're finally utilizing that property, which has a lot of Christmas ties in some of the books and movies.
I was going to say, yeah, they have holidays or whatever.
Yeah, and they're so it's finally cool to see kind of the wizarding side of stuff. I'm curious to see, because they didn't specifically state what Christmas foods they're bringing. They're just inspired by or from the books. So I'm curious to see which ones they'll pick and choose and how they'll implement them.
Have to follow up on that.
Yeah. Well, Disney's longest tenured employee has retired after 60 years. Chef Oscar Martinez had been a chef at the Carnation Cafe over at Disneyland since 1967 and was responsible for the popular breakfast Oscar's Choice. Oscar is looking forward to traveling, visiting family, and relaxing in his retirement. Now, if you're doing some math here, 67 plus 60 is not 27.
I know, I was doing the math in my head. I was like,
he was a chef over at Carnation Cafe, but he started over at like some Disney restaurant on the studio back in 1957.
So he's not the park's longest tenure. I mean, he might be, I don't know, but
he's
Disney, the
tenure.
company. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
He started out as
doing the math on that going.
Started out as a busboy, and then he had zero culinary ability or skills or anything, and then he ended up being the head chef over at Carnation Cafe, which is quite the feat. So,
congratulations! Enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, really hope you do it.
Yeah.
Well, several new fall-inspired drinks are coming to both Downtown Disney at Disneyland and Disney Springs over at Disney World. This is probably the hardest one to pronounce. Ochiba Punch? Ochiba? Ochiba Punch, which is Kettle One vodka and apple cider with a blood orange puree and house-made chai syrup topped with spiced apple. Will be available over at Morimoto Asia. Southern Sangria can be found over at Paddlefish. A spiced caramel apple martini can be found over at Raglan Road. While over at Disneyland, you can grab a Moscow Ghoul at the Yuva Bar, or a Jack-O-Lantern, which is vanilla vodka, pumpkin spice liqueur, Turani French vanilla, and whipped cream. You can grab that over at Naples. There are many, many more drinks. These are just the highlights.
Yeah.
I really wanted to include the Moscow Ghoul.
Just for the pun.
Yeah, I mean,
just for the pun of
although
it.
Going through the list, none of the Disney World drinks had puns. Most of the Disneyland ones did. What's going on there? What's
up with that?
Well, Lionsgate will be opening an indoor entertainment center in Times Square at New York City. The main attraction will be a Hunger Games-themed flying simulator attraction that will take guests on a rescue mission to the Capitol. Visitors can also enjoy some food at Pita's Bakery and the Capitol Confectionery. The Divergent series will be brought to life with an obstacle course. There will also be a shooting-based ride, or a shooting ride based on John Wick, and a dining lounge experience based on Mad Men will also be available. Lionsgate Entertainment City is planned to open in 2019. I believe they're also expecting to see 50 million guests per year, which they're right in Times Square, so that's not a baffling number, but it's still a lot.
Still a lot, and I'm wondering, space-wise, like how's
it going to work?
It sounds like a lot of stuff. I mean, granted, the flying simulator ride could be
rocking chair in VR.
Yeah.
Everything else, it doesn't look like they're gonna be taking up that much space with these individual attractions.
I guess
it's
in New York you have vertical space too a lot of times.
Yeah, mostly. So I'm sure it'll be a multi-level building.
Go up to level 8 for John Wick.
But then you run into the Universal Hollywood issue of, well, how do we entertain people while they're on the escalators?
There you go.
Or what's going on there?
True.
So, and how do you shuffle people quickly, efficiently through all of it?
That's,
Who knows, man? Who knows? Stay tuned to 2019 to find out. Well, Legoland Florida has donated 20,000 park tickets to children in the state of Florida affected by Hurricane Irma. 18,000 tickets were donated to the UNICEF Kid Power Schools program, and the other 2,000 were donated to Citrus Center Boys and Girls Club. The donation is valued at over $1.8 million, and this donation is the largest ticket giveaway in Legoland Florida's history.
Was this in response to hurricanes or just?
It was really in
Just in
response to
general.
hurricanes, because they realized, we're a kid-focused park.
Yeah.
There are a ton of kids who,
Maybe are
may have been
displaced or-
traumatized,
yeah.
displaced, whatever from recent hurricanes. We want to help out, so it's
Cool.
the best way that we could
Good
think
on
of doing
them.
it.
Wow.
And Legoland, we say this pretty much every time you're in the news, but we think you're doing a good
You're
job.
on point.
Whoever's
on
doing
fleek.
management there, on fleek.
You're on fleek, Legoland.
You being Gucci. You Gucci. Whoever's managing Legoland, though, you guys are
Really
crushing
seriously.
it.
Yeah. Every time we bring it up, it's always
It's
something.
outstanding.
Yeah.
I feel like, maybe even Disney and Universal could learn a thing or two from their management side of stuff, because
I think.
they know the audience and they know how to
Yeah.
cater to it.
Yeah.
I think that's where Disney and Universal kind of struggle a little bit, because they kind of want the biggest audience possible
Versus
kids.
catering somewhat to
Mostly.
it. Yeah.
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 I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, the Artist's Palette Marketplace over at Disney's Saratoga Springs Resort is now selling Rigatoni Fiasolana meal kit for $49. The dinner serves 4 people and features rigatoni, tomato sauce, sausage, portobello mushrooms, parmesan, and fresh basil, as well as a large garden salad, garlic breadsticks, and baking instructions. This is the only meal kit available currently, but we could see more kits in the future. So they're marketing this towards DVC
Like the
people.
longer staying guests and the people that have the
Not necessarily just longer staying, but the people with the kitchenettes in
Okay.
their DVC stuff.
smart.
Which, yeah,
Because I
Saratoga
noticed a lot
Springs
more of
has
the
it.
DVC people are the types to go off site and go to they're showing up with 2 grocery sacks at check-in. or
Yeah,
whatever,
I mean, why would you're pretty much just staying in an apartment,
Yeah,
so might as well use all of it, or a house, small house.
that's a cool
or something.
idea. Yeah,
So Disney is really maximizing on it, or at least trying to tap into that
they're
market for now.
testing it at least. Yeah, we'll see.
But $50 for 4 people.
It's not terrible, but I would think if you could go to the grocery store.
If you're driving there, you could do it.
But I could
much cheaper.
I could see if say I was DVC, we flew in. I'm not gonna unless I want to make the extra stop at a grocery store, which I might,
Yeah, you could.
or
you
go
could Uber over
know
there
that
or
this
something.
something like this is available. So
I wonder if we could use 4 meal credits on it.
I wonder. 49 is almost like one sit down. Typically,
Yeah.
price wise.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because can't you use meal credits on like pizzas and stuff?
Pizza's really weird. We should get into that sometime
Okay.
because it's actually the biggest ripoff in Walt Disney World. If you're on a dining plan, like,
really.
do not order a pizza and use your dining credits if you,
If
don't
you value your credits at all,
don't not
just pay
Yeah,
for it.
Just
Oh,
pay
wow.
for it.
We should talk about that
Yeah.
sometime. Well, Baseline Tap House opened today over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Today being Friday, September 29th.
Yeah, because by the time you guys get this,
2017.
it'll be
It'll be Sunday,
Saturday or Sunday,
Saturday sometime. The Vintage Building specializes in beer and wines from the Golden State of California. It features craft ales, lagers, and ciders, alongside Californian wines on tap, as well as specialty cocktails. Plus, gourmet non-alcoholic lemonade and sodas are also on tap. The pub will also serve small plates like Bavarian pretzels and California cheeses. Baseline Tap House will be open daily, starting at 11 a.m. So this is kind of the introduction to Grand Avenue.
cool.
So
I think they're
first
doing a lot
major
more of these
opening.
lounges too. But it's also cool that it's the first.
And I really like that they're doing these lounge type
Yeah.
spots and pub stuff. Like it's a cool addition. Into
That's
the
where I
parks.
think what you were talking about earlier, where they're catering. I think they're catering to the adults as well.
Yeah, more so.
Yeah.
Well, that just about wraps it up for the
All
news
right.
this week.
Stick around. We're going to talk about my trip and all the new stuff I got to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. After we talked hurricane last week.
Epcot music.
Good. We'll start in Epcot.
Happy almost birthday, Epcot.
Almost. Yeah. Hey, this week. I mean, by the time this episode really goes up.
It will be. It will be when the 35th anniversary of when the 21st century began.
So are we in the 22nd century then now?
No, because it's only the 35th anniversary.
It's the 100th. We're in the 22nd.
In 2082. That's when
like forever away.
That's when the 22nd century truly begins. So you recently went to Disney World.
I did.
And we talked a little bit about it last week with your hurricane experience and that fun and everything that went along with that. But you also got to experience a lot of
newer-ish,
and things,
some new
and
like Pandora,
some very new things. Yeah, they were at least new to you. So, I mean, there were many new things.
Many new things. I did not, due to the hurricane, maybe didn't get to experience as many as I had hoped on or planned on. So, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of run down the ones I did get to do.
Yeah.
And so, for context for people, this is new since
2014.
No.
15-ish.
Was it?
3 years ago is 2014.
Yeah, 14. So September 2014. So yeah, 3 years ago. So a lot has changed. A lot hasn't, really either. But
I had just graduated. Well, that was the graduating year of my high school.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a while ago, man. And to think I went to Disney World even farther back than that.
I know.
As my last time.
We're almost on an every year streak though to a Disney park.
I've gone to a Disney park every year.
Yeah.
And more.
Anyways, yeah, so we thought it'd be fun to kind of run, instead of giving you the full trip report, because we kind of gave you a little bit of that last week. I thought it'd be fun just to talk about the new stuff and kind of give you my thoughts.
Yeah.
And you've gotten to experience one of these things, I guess, maybe in a different context.
Yeah, one of them in a different context. We could talk about that a little more in depth.
So I think I texted you right after, and you made some quitty comment. Well, let's start with Frozen.
Yeah, so
this was one I feel like you probably.
I'm not too amped about doing this,
and I can understand that. I was a Maelstrom fan.
I was a huge Maelstrom fan.
Are you kidding me? I was sad to see it go.
Back in paper Fast Pass days,
well, I still have one.
I still have one. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, we would go for that attraction.
Oh, I know. I don't blame you. And I used to love watching the movie at the end even too. So
Frozen Ever After is the attraction we're talking about.
Frozen Ever After.
And
what did you 2016 is when it opened, I think?
It was last year. Yeah. It was late last year, I think.
Yeah. So it's I will say, if you can separate it being Maelstrom and being Maelstrom's end and replacement, it is actually a really good ride.
Yeah, I don't. It looks fun. It looks entertaining. But knowing what it once was,
and
that's like,
I had to remind myself of that the second time I wrote it, because the first time I kept thinking like, oh, what was here? What was this? What was this? And the second time I was like, I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is, because I'm not gonna be able to bring Maelstrom back. That's not in my ability. So it was fun to kind of experience it as a new attraction and kind of forget that Maelstrom
used to occupy that space. Okay, so go in with the mindset of it's a new attraction.
Yeah, I would treat it as that, even though you could tell, oh, this is that part, or because I found the first time I found myself going like, oh, that's that part that you used to go out into the world. You came outside a little bit, yeah.
Oh, Birdsey Falls.
So there were parts like that. I was like, oh, this is where the oil rig was, or But I think they did a really good job. One of completely removing Maelstrom, as also sad as that is.
Yep.
It's not just like a overlay of Frozen over Maelstrom. They actually did a really good job of making a Frozen attraction
and making a story-driven Frozen attraction.
Oh, very much
too.
so. Yeah.
Did you get any time in the queue?
Very little, because we always fast passed it. Because even when it was short, it was still like a 35-minute wait, which when nothing else has a wait is like
seems
forever.
Like a late.
But it was like. I will say the bits of the queue you see from the fast pass in, very cool.
Okay.
You get some of the story that you're there, and you're there for like a day of
celebration.
You're gonna go see Elsa's castle of ice and blah blah. So
way better than Norway's mural.
Yes. with the baby face.
Q was the worst.
Did you see the baby
Yeah.
face? Always
yeah.
freaked me out. I'm like, what is wrong with that? Is it a baby face or what?
It's so weird.
So weird.
It was just the worst Q, just switchbacks with a mural.
It almost
And
feels
the-
like Rapunzel, though. I'll say it almost feels like Tangled
Really?
with the little banners.
Okay.
So it has kind of a paper lantern feel.
Well, there is that connection between the two movies.
Oh, I know, but I'm just It was like, oh, that's weird.
Okay, so little bit of, well, a lot more story driven.
A lot more story driven instead of just like, oh, here's a scene from this. There's this, because that's to Maelstrom's discredit. I know people are screaming, but to Maelstrom's discredit, it was kind of random. Like, oh, this and then oh, here you are, whale. Oh,
It was more of
Oil
just
rig.
an interesting take on how to show the culture of Norway.
which, I loved it. So I'm not.
Yeah, it was cool.
But I'm just saying to its discredit, it wasn't a continuous
it wasn't
story.
super uniform.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, now I'm with trolls, and now there's like modern Norway, and
Yeah.
now there's oil. What is
Yeah.
going on?
Vikings and trolls and oil and whales. Okay,
It was cool.
I got it.
It was cool. If
Um,
I ever visit Norway, that's what I'm going to think of.
But I
Viking
really
and
enjoyed it.
trolls.
I think the audio-animatronics were awesome in Frozen. I think the story's really awesome. The projections are really cool. The way they did it,
Yeah.
the way they made it look. Really a good ride overall.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd wait 3 hours for it. I will say, though, as soon as my little girl lit up and was so excited to ride Frozen and wanted to do it again and again, I could completely see how I would be willing to wait. Like,
wait.
I'd be that
35
dad
minutes
going
for it.
3 hours. Like, okay, yeah, I'll call you when I get close. I'll call you when we go in the building.
Go ride test track. I'll call you soon.
Yeah.
Stay near Norway.
Because she loved it so much.
Oh, okay.
And again, they would have no context for Maelstrom. So in a way, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier, like catering to their audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fanboys and we could ride Maelstrom 8 times in a row, but most people go, okay, cool.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
most people
and
come
it is-
off 3 Caballeros and go, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's Small World Light.
Yeah.
And
Pretty
most
much.
people would have gone on that if Germany had been a ride instead of a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's also just kind of the rebranding of Epcot, kind of
Which
bringing
is
in more of
for
the Disney characters.
guys like
and
us is hard, but for the general public,
it makes sense. It works.
it makes Epcot more attractive to them.
yeah.
Epcot
Without
was
a doubt.
already attractive to most people, but also it just adds to it.
It
So.
adds a little more reason to go.
Again, if
to
you can
World
separate
Showcase.
what Frozen Ever After represents as a rebranding and the rebirth of Epcot and IPCOT and
Epcot.
the death of, traditional Maelstrom and all that, it's a really good attraction.
Okay. Cool.
So the next one you've experienced,
I get to
but
experience
in
before
a
you
different part.
experienced it.
It's true you did.
Yeah. This is the new Soarin'.
Soarin'. New
It's
Soarin'.
just Soarin'.
I know.
Over the world, or around the world.
Over the falls. Oh.
Over the falls. Soarin' around the world. So I experienced Soarin' around the world over at...
Is it just Soarin' at Epcot?
It's still just Soarin' at Epcot.
Okay.
Now it's Soarin' around the world over at
because it was
California.
Soarin'. Yeah.
Soarin' over California.
I like that they kept what's his name at the beginning.
Patrick.
So spoiler alerts if you haven't been there yet. Patrick.
It's
These
been
little
open
beauties.
for many years.
I know. I'm just saying, just in case. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, the film is a definite upgrade.
I think I texted you and said the transition scared my son, but you were like,
Yeah.
well, at least it has transition. I was like, that is a good point.
Yeah.
It
The
and
last
it made
one was
a little
just
more
jump cuts.
sense.
Yep.
That you're going around the world, you're seeing these things instead of just like random bits of California that are kind of out of order.
Well, over in Epcot, it makes sense that you're going around the world. Over in
Which
California,
is the note I put in here too, is that it makes
It does
more
not.
sense in Epcot because
You're
someone
going around
over
the world.
California made no sense in Epcot because
no,
it was like
not at all.
it'd be make more sense to be in Hollywood Studios because there at least you're playing homage to the home of Hollywood, but this was like
Yeah.
the home of this is like about the world. This park's about the world, and here we are.
It's about global culture and
Yeah.
unifying the world.
And here we are going over California. So it makes really a lot of sense in
And
Epcot.
you end at Disneyland and then walk out and you're at Epcot. Like,
So that was the other thing I
That
really
was
loved
dumb.
about this was that it ended at the appropriate park.
it actually ended at Epcot.
Yes.
Right? Okay, yeah. Because the California Adventure one ends at Disneyland.
Which the
Still.
old one did, yeah, which makes sense.
Still. Yeah.
And they make a hidden Mickey out of Epcot, out of Spaceship Earth
Yeah.
with the fireworks.
So cool.
They never launched fireworks from the parking lot anyway, so I don't know why they would.
I don't know how it happened.
Probably digitally, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. So it makes a lot of sense in Epcot. I still kind of have a little bit of an issue with it over in California Adventure, but I understand why it's there and why they did it.
And I could totally understand your issue with that because I had the opposite issue when it was the other way. Why am I flying around California? I mean, it was still a really cool ride, so it was all good. But it was like, why am I flying over California in Florida in a park about the world
when I'm 45 feet away from World Showcase?
Yeah. So I really think it's a great addition to Epcot. I'm glad they brought it.
Yeah.
I totally understand the issues with it being in California Adventure.
However, I think as soon as California Adventure finally goes through its whole rebranding into Disney Adventure Park, it'll be perfect.
It'll fit
issue,
fine.
Yeah. No problems there.
I really like the soundtrack too. They did a kind of very minimal remixing because I noticed like even the kind of
there was a lot of kind of homage to the original.
Because even like the
soundtrack.
Western kind of sound when they're riding horseback is when you're like in the Egypt scene and there's dudes on horses, and I was like, oh, that's weird, but it kind of makes sense. But
it does make sense. There is I guess minimal remixing to it. It works so well.
Yeah.
Do you like the original score or this score better?
Hard to tell.
I really like the new score.
Do you?
Just because it's a little little more variety. Yeah. I've also heard the original Soarin' score over 63 times now. We do play it every after show.
It's true.
And after I rode Soarin' Around the World, I immediately got off and tried to find that soundtrack on YouTube. It's not.
It's the same as I tried to find on our next one here, which we could talk about. Pandora. Yeah. I tried to find some of its soundtracks, and it was like, no,
it's just animal noises.
So I got to experience Pandora World of Avatar, and actually I got to experience it 2 days after the hurricane. So it was a little bit busier than the day after the hurricane, but it was far less busier than it would have been any other day in the year.
Still pretty dead.
Still pretty dead. I really like the area.
Okay, so you like the area.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump into those.
Okay, so before you jump into these.
Because I really like the area. You definitely are transported to an alien world.
Okay.
I would say the floating mountains are ever so slightly less epic than you think they're going to be, simply because there's like literally 2 of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the Cars Lands kind of style backdrop of just mountains, and you're like, okay, cool. But it doesn't take me out of it, but it and you can walk under them. Like it does, they do a really good job with it, but it was just slightly less epic than
what you were anticipating.
Their promo videos show it as.
Yeah. Can you feel the mass above your head as you're walking under them, though?
Yes.
Because
they do a really good job steering like the waterfalls and doing all, and like there's little offshoots that look like they're like way off in the distance, but they're really, this big, and they're kind of hanging off the big one or whatever, so.
That's awesome.
They do a really good job with it. If you feel like you're on an alien planet, I wish I could have experienced it at night. Again, with the hurricane, our plans got jumbled, so we kind of lost that opportunity.
So there was a recent news story. I didn't include it in the news because it wasn't like super relevant, but apparently some of the actors and actresses from Avatar Next Generation, I don't know if that's Avatar 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
They took them to Pandora, the world of Avatar, to kind of immerse them in the world. Is it that immersive where you would consider, like, if you were in the film, you would go there for reference material?
Sure, if you were alone.
Okay.
I mean,
because the mass amount of people around there.
We'll talk about it here in a second, but Flight of Passage, its line was like 3 hours long, even that dead day where you could walk onto anything else. And that really ruins it when there's a dude standing basically at the entrance of it, going like, in the line here for Flight of Passage. It's like, so I could see and I could see definitely at night, because you could see bits of what was bioluminescent or what was interactive or whatever else, and I was like, okay, I could see that would be really cool at night. Again, I didn't have that opportunity, but
sadly,
I'd say it's that immersive. I'd say at night it probably hides.
It's more immersive at night.
More immersive at night because it will hide some of those
flaws.
Not flaws even, but just disbelief. I don't know. suspend some of that disbelief.
It suspends the reality.
Yeah, you
more.
go. But I mean, the theming is excellent. That's what I was like. I remember going to one of the bathrooms and it being like it looked like a abandoned like laboratory. I'm like,
all right, is this on par or better than Cars Land?
On par.
On par with Cars Land?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say Cars Land has an advantage of being a livable space where this is like
more so livable,
just
where this
nature,
is just an alien
nature.
Planet.
Yeah.
Okay, does this get you hyped for Star Wars Land?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was probably my biggest thing was like, okay, I mean,
Disney,
not that I was disbelieving that Star Wars Land was going to be bad or that they were going to screw it up, but I was
not
like,
at all.
Yeah, I see it.
It's in the right hands with Disney.
Absolutely.
Would you say, okay, so you've been over to the Wizarding World as well?
Yes. I've not been to Diacon, but I've been to the other part.
Hogsmeade. And we know that we both have issues with it as far as sightlines go.
And stuff, yeah.
But do you think like that? You have to admit the level of detail in Hogsmeade,
very good.
It's outstanding.
I would say that's true here too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's same level as that.
Uh-huh.
Wow, that's crazy. Dang. Okay, so then do you think Star Wars is in better hands? Just quick gut reaction: Disney or Universal? Who would Star Wars be in better hands with?
Disney.
And we can debate this a little bit.
I think that comes down to attractions more than other things, but I think Disney.
Okay, so then purely based on level of detail, though, Disney or Universal? Now that you've seen Pandora and Universal's
Disney.
crown of
Disney, I would say Pandora.
Okay.
It is there. I mean, you don't because you're in Florida, but you forget that you're not in Florida because none of the plants look natural.
Okay.
It's really hard to tell what's an actual plant and what's not, other than occasionally some ones you're like, clearly that's a light bulb, or clearly if I touch that at night, it's going to do something. Other than those, I would say they did a really, really good job of blending the entire environment into the natural environment of Florida.
Okay, that's amazing. So that
which I think offers an opportunity that Pandora uniquely does in a way because it's a jungle, and Florida kind of is a jungle on its own.
It aids to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so dang, that gets me stoked for what Disney's doing with Star Wars.
I think if when you get your chance to go to Pandora, you're going to be like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The only downside I would say is like this floating, the way that Disney shoots promo videos, which this. I mean,
yeah.
They
make the Disneyland castle look big.
Yeah.
And
I always forget when I walk in because I'm always like, oh yeah. The floating mountains are a little slightly less epic than you are, but they're still very good. They still look very floating. I mean, you can
that's what
your perspective, being the engineer that you are, you're going to go, okay, there's the crossbeam, and there's this, and yeah. There's where it's actually anchored. So
yeah. That's why it didn't tip over during Hurricane Irma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of initial reviews were, where the mountains aren't as epic as I thought they would be, but they're still substantial.
Yes.
And you can definitely...
I think Cars Land put us in a weird place where we were like, okay, that was in Disney, that was in California where you're limited on space. Let's see
what you can do.
A real mountain, but it's like, no, we're not going to build 8 Everests.
Yeah.
Off in the distance just for your personal viewing pleasure.
We're not stick little light bulbs on top of them because they're that high, type of deal.
Yeah. So this was, but I was really impressed.
Okay.
I wish I could have had more time again with the hurricane and everything. I wish I could have more time and either gone back there at night or just even spent time kind of wandering.
Yeah.
Because I basically spent my time going to rides and dinner and lunch.
So let's talk about that. Flight of Passage. You wrote it.
I did. I waited about an hour for it, which is insane
if
you look at the the wait times any other time. And that was after the day had kind of gone on and that initial 3 hours because everyone ran there.
Oh yeah.
And I stood there for a minute and I was like, nope, not worth it. Like I was like, either I'm not going to do it this trip and that sucks, or I'm going to go do do all my other things and come back and see if it's better. And it was. So
okay, that's good.
We got everything else done and then came back and we're like, oh yeah, let's do it now.
Sweet. So what do you think of it?
Really, really good. It is definitely Soarin' 2.0.
Okay.
But that's a really, really good thing because it's much more thrilling than original Soarin'.
Okay. That's cool.
I like how they set up the system. And I think I told you this either last week or off camera some other time that you're gonna nerd out a little bit on it, like, oh, okay, I
probably.
see how they did this, or like,
Probably.
when I look back and realize that my stuff, my like camera was sitting in a cubby hole, and the cubby hole was like going woof, 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 woof. I'm like, whoa.
Actually moving.
You realize how much you're
substantially.
moving. You're like, whoa. So,
Yeah.
I wish I had gotten a better seat. I will say it suffers from a similar problem that Soarin' does. I would say if this was Soarin', I was on like boarding group C, and I was on the end of that,
Okay.
and I was probably in the third or second. No, I was probably in the middle. Well, maybe the bottom row. It's hard to tell because you really don't.
Yeah, you don't
have
know.
context.
No.
Take a look over and you realize, oh, this is Soarin'. It's just different. Really, really good. It was a tight fit for me. I would say definitely test out the ride vehicle. They have one that's kind of like Harry Potter, where they have a ride vehicle out front. Test it out.
What was the tight fit?
The funny thing was, I'm a fairly
wasn't...
big dude, and I was a little nervous, but it was my calves. It was like my legs were a little too long, or just a
Really?
weird. It wasn't my belly.
Were your calves just too girthy?
I think so.
Or-
Like he literally was like pushing on my calf because we had to get like 3 clicks or whatever. So I
Yeah,
got
the
one on
3-click
my
rule.
own.
Yeah.
And then he got another one, and then he was like, all right, one more. And I was like, okay. And then we got it, and I was like, it wasn't that bad. It was not like,
Wasn't like cutting off your
I'm
circulation.
going to suffer through this. But it was like, okay, this is, and it's just, it was tight the way my hips were in there and everything too. So it's just a very tight fit. So if you're claustrophobic at all, it's a very odd, like you have this thing on your back kind of pushing you in.
Yeah, it's like the Tron roller coaster seating arrangement,
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
but stationary or secured to the ground rather than on a coaster
Yeah,
track.
it's secured to a
Yeah,
thing that's doing this.
yeah.
The whole room.
It's Simulator Tron with
Yeah.
banshees.
Yeah, they do a really good job. The video is really, really good. There are
Okay.
some 4D effects. There are smells.
Yeah, I hear there's some smells, some water.
Some water. I think that's wind.
There's some- yeah.
Wind,
yeah.
obviously. The way they start the whole thing is really, really good. The way they build it up is really, really good. I was gonna say it has the most amazing queue.
Would you opt to wait in line in that queue because it's that good?
I don't know where the Fast Pass goes, but I would say yes if you don't get to see that lab.
I think FastPass pretty much just follows it alongside, and then
I
just,
don't think they do because I don't remember seeing anybody like zooming past me.
Oh wow, I don't know.
Or
Then.
maybe they come in that lab at some point, but
Yeah.
I imagine they get some of them in that lab.
Yeah, probably.
But the transitions between what's supposed to be like abandoned military, back to natural Na'vi, back to military, back to Na'vi, and then like into the lab of like this new group that's running the
Yeah.
planet now,
Yeah,
and then into the ride. I was like, okay, cool.
it works really
Because the whole
well.
story is basically that you're taking over an avatar that's already made it up to a banshee.
That's already in
So
the
you're
field
just like
and
you're
just
jumping in.
jumping
and
in right
so
away.
they do this whole like thing, and you're like, whoosh, and it starts.
Oh, that's awesome. Dang.
Because you
that's
start in
cool.
a room and you're like in your thing, and then it's like whoosh, and you're in. You're like, whoa, that would happen. Like it really was awesome.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
That's cool.
probably
So-
worth the wait. I would say just to see the queue. I mean, if it's a 3-hour wait and you have a fast pass, just not
Do the
worth it at
fast
that
pass.
point. But my hour wait went quick because I was like totally looking around at everything, enjoying like there was cool like sounds. I would say that's the one thing about Pandora I was really weirded out by. It was like there's no airy music. It's all
It's just all ambient sounds.
yeah, it's like weird animal sounds, just like growling off in the distance. You're like, whoa.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it only amplifies at night or changes at night
Yeah.
too and stuff. And dang, that's awesome. All right, so Flight of Passage, definitely amazing, definitely cool.
Yeah.
Definitely do it. How about Na'vi River Journey?
I'd say it's good. I liked it. It's an awesome dark ride. It is.
Yeah.
It tells the story pretty well of like the Na'vi. I would say its queue is okay.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as good as Flight of Passage. I think
No.
that lab scene kills it on top of what the other stuff does. This just feels kind of like entering a Na'vi village or whatever. So it's like, okay, cool, but
You get more of the natural.
yeah,
kinda
you're more of a natural like cave
native stuff. And okay.
versus the other one's like cave to the army base to like a cave to the army base to the cave to the new lab. Like,
Yeah.
way cooler.
Okay. But as far as the ride goes, it's a cool dark ride.
It's a cool dark ride. You forget a lot of those scenes are screens.
Really.
They do a really good job of the
Do
way
you-
they
do
did
you
the
notice
depth
them?
to it. You know it's a screen, but you don't. Like you're like, okay, yeah, it's good. Because they're like
Yeah.
Either that's the most incredible audio animatronic ever, like unbelievable,
Yeah.
or
Or
like
it's a
it's a
screen.
screen. But it's like
So,
very
but-
good.
but-
It's very distant. It's very kind of there's a thing over there.
So
like,
while you're in the moment, it's like you don't know if it's a screen or an audio-animatronic. Then just looking back, you're like, there's no way.
there's a
could do
few that were
other
like
than a screen.
oh, that's definitely a screen. Then there's a couple that are really cool, like they're like frogs almost, I guess, jumping on
jumping on
like leaves, and the leaves are like bouncing
Up above you
as
and
the
stuff.
frogs are, and you see the shadow of the frog, and
That's really cool.
there's some really, really cool use of screens for when they use the screens. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't remember what the little like dog looking things are called.
No.
Who knows? But those are the screens that you're like, that's the screen.
Pretty
But you're
obvious.
like, okay, but it's in the whole scene, and there's just a dog running around. You're like, okay, cool.
So the screens really add depth to the ride.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. And then that audio-animatronic though.
Was incredible. And I would say the music was really good. That was one I was like on my phone, like, Navi River.
Where's
and it was
that
like
at?
nothing.
Darn.
Because it was
Yeah.
like cool, like Navi, like,
Yeah.
you know, native music. I was like, whoa, this is cool. Well,
Boulder, right?
yeah. I did grow up in Boulder, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I had the chance to eat lunch.
Yeah,
at
you did.
Satuli Canteen. And
How was that?
I did not get to use mobile order because mobile order doesn't work with your dining plan.
Sad day. Sad.
Which
sad
I
day.
imagine is coming.
Maybe.
I don't know. I was
If,
like,
if you
why
could
can't-
figure out, if you could just throw a QR code on a Magic Band, then yeah. Or figure out some way to interact via like.
Well, you're in
Bluetooth
your
or something.
account though,
Oh, that's true. So then why not just?
and you have to log in your account to do anything
your
in that
account?
app. You have to like log into your account.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I couldn't just. It's
Do you wanna use
all-
dining credit
yeah,
for this?
It's
Yes,
all tied
no.
in. I don't know. So I did. I imagine it's coming, but I did try the cheeseburger pods.
How were they?
They were good. They're more like Sloppy Joe pods, I would say.
Okay.
So I don't know if Sloppy Joe's a universal or
Universally known.
universally known, but it's basically like scrambled hamburger in like kind of a tomato-based sauce. That's more what I would say. I don't think there was even
Really?
cheese in it, like honestly, or maybe there was a little like mixed in, but I was like, it wasn't like a clear like slice of cheese in the middle. They were really good. The chips were good that came with it. The theming of that restaurant is awesome. So it's kind of that same mix of like natural Na'vi habitat mixed with kind of the lab. So the ordering queue is like very much like
Organized.
organized.
and
There's
lab
like
stuff.
screens. It's very like clean and like modern and metal everywhere. And then you go out and you go eat in like Na'vi, like, and there's like, you know, vines hanging and
Yeah.
and sounds, and it was cool.
That's awesome. So did your wife and kids have any other foods, or did everybody get the cheeseburger pods, or was
So
it just you?
I left them to go do Flight of Passage while they went to Flame Tree Barbecue, and then they were going to
Okay.
go like chill out, and then I did
Yeah.
Flight of Passage and then
And
ate
then
lunch.
Satuli.
So.
Okay. So only thing on the menu for
Yeah, I
that
mean, I
you
looked at
tried.
a lot of other ones because I was walking around looking for It was very busy.
Well,
That was the busiest.
Pandora.
That was probably the busiest part till Friday night when Food and Wine really kicked in on our trip. That was like the busiest thing I did was just hang out in Pandora.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's a really, truly immersive and very amazing place to hang
And I would
out
say it
at.
probably is bringing a lot more people in Animal Kingdom that otherwise would have been like, we don't need, or like if they're not staying on property or if
Do you
they're.
think it's keeping more people there?
I definitely felt like as busy as that was, and for how dead everything else was, and it was post hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's keeping people there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just bringing them in, it's keeping them there all day. Because were wait times kind of growing as the day went on in Animal Kingdom elsewhere?
Yes. So I think as
So,
people
yeah,
cleared
that's-
out of the 3-hour queue for Flight of Passage, other things started to grow.
Wow. So yeah, that's showing me that people are hanging around in Animal Kingdom much longer than.
Yeah, the theming. I would say the theming at Satuli was really cool. I would say the food was fine, normal quick service, kind of different quick service, but normal. And like looking at
Yeah.
other like the bowls. 'Cause
The
they had kind
bowls
of a
look
rice bowl.
really
They're like,
good.
yeah, they look really good.
They look like
I've heard kind of mixed reviews on them. They're kind of like, it's okay.
I've heard there's some that are outstanding and some that are just kind of meh.
Yeah.
So do your research, figure out
I
what
would
you
de-
like beforehand.
I always
and-
defer food to the Disney food blog.
yeah, without a doubt.
So go watch. They have a cool video on Satuli Canteen. They have a good blog on it. So go watch that. Because that's why I was like, I'm going to get the pods. They said safe bet.
Yeah,
Everybody's going to love them. So I was like, I'll get those.
good call.
Yeah.
So then what else did you get to experience?
Well, the last thing, I mean, I forgot about Disney Springs. I would just say Disney Springs looks amazing. It's kind of been in transition every time I've been there.
Last time I was there, it was even like, yep, there's construction walls literally everywhere.
Yeah, so I would say Disney Springs looks amazing. I love it. It's awesome. Wish we could have had more time. As close as we were being at Port Orleans, I wish we could have had more time to go over there and eat and experience stuff, but just
hang out a little
with
more.
The hurricane,
Threw it all off.
It threw it all off because it was like, no, we're not going to waste time in Disney Springs when we can go to the parks and eat dinner or whatever. So
yeah.
Disney Springs looks awesome. And then the last one is Happily Ever After, and I put it with and Once Upon a Time because Once Upon a Time was like only like a half an hour before.
Yeah, it's basically
so it's like
just
everybody was already lined up
show.
for Happily Ever After, and then Once Upon a Time happened. I was like, oh, that's cool. It was kind of like, oh, freebie pre-show. Both are great. Projection mapping, the 3D projection mapping is like on point.
Oh, they're crushing it with projection mapping nowadays. Like they've gotten good.
Like my wife and like my parents had no, like they didn't even know
that it was a thing.
And they're like, whoa, like how, and like just incredible effects.
It's so cool.
I would say Happily Ever After reminds me a lot of Wishes, which is with the new soundtrack, and I love the new soundtrack. Great soundtrack for both of them.
Okay.
Not huge changes, I would say, because like Tink still flies.
I mean, that's basically every fireworks show at any Magic Kingdom
so I was
ever.
Like, okay, cool. So it really wasn't a huge change from Wishes, other than kind of a new story, some new effects with the projection mapping, and then.
Do they do any projection mapping like on Main Street USA or anything? Because they were doing that at Disneyland for a little bit.
No, because I was standing so close to the castle.
Okay.
I was literally at Walt and Mickey in the hub.
Wow.
And I walked in 45 minutes before the fireworks started. Because this was the.
That's dead.
This
That's
was
crazy.
the. Is that the night before the hurricane came?
No, because you were at Epcot then.
Yes, right. It was the day. This was the 2
day
days
after.
before the hurricane.
Yeah.
2 days before the hurricane came, we walked in and walked right up to Walton, and we could have walked even closer, honestly.
Wow, that's crazy.
But I was like, I want to be here. This is a good spot.
Yeah. Dang.
Because then I don't feel bad like putting my kids on my shoulders or whatever too. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just it's fine.
Okay.
Both really good shows. I would say the projection mapping. If they added projection mapping to Wishes, it would be Happily Ever After with a new soundtrack. That's all it really is. So it's not like it's not like a massively different show. It's just
it's a new fireworks show.
They updated their technology and added a new song.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how much more you could do other than
nothing really.
Actually have the castle blast off into space or something. I don't know. I don't know.
I one of these days, I think actually next time that I go, since I'm planning on going for so long, gonna watch Once Upon a Time from where like you're supposed to watch it from, like Main Street USA or Castle Hub or something, and then the next time that we watch it, go into Fantasyland and watch it.
I've always wanted to do that.
I've heard it's absolutely incredible.
Some of the photographers and stuff that we follow on our Instagram or some of the guys on Flickr back in the day.
Cool shots from there.
They used to go on like Swiss Family Treehouse and shoot through the trees and get like these incredible shots and stuff. So yeah, I would.
So awesome.
I've always thought it'd be really fun or same be back in New Fantasyland, like back in the back there and like shoot with Beast Castle in your shot or whatever. Yeah, I would. Again,
so cool.
These are the things we had talked about doing too before the hurricane. Like, let's go twice. Let's do this. Like,
disrupted some stuff.
Yeah, because like we never got to see Rivers of Light.
Yeah,
we actually had a fast forward, but that night it like started downpouring like insane, and it was like, okay. And this was after the hurricane even. I was like, well, all right,
yeah.
So,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But it really was an enjoyable trip.
It sounds like you got to experience a lot of really cool, new, at least new to you things.
Which is kind of what we talked about last week. At one point, I remember my wife and I looking at each other going like, this is a really unique trip.
Yeah.
That like people would pay lots of money to know that they're going to have no waits and have the world to themselves.
Yeah. So you had a really cool opportunity and you took advantage of it.
We did, yeah.
Any last words for us?
No. Everything looks great.
Sounds good.
I know. Now I just need to go to California and experience Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
I mean, that's all I need to do, and then that's the only one up. I gotta
complete until Star Wars opens up.
That's true. Or Toy Story.
Or
Toy Story's open up next summer.
I was trying to get some looks at that while we were there.
Those walls are a little more permanent.
Like, okay, there's a roller coaster over there. I can clearly see that. But ooh,
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to Unmistakably Magic Podcast.
Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Episode 63.
That's right. Check out our social media at Unmistakably Mag on Twitter. I know you've been on there quite a bit.
Little bit. Not as much as I probably should be. I've been popping a few videos here and there.
Nice.
Don't worry.
Unmistakably Magic on Instagram.
You've been kind of lacking on that one.
I have some new pictures now, so I'll put some new pictures in.
Cool. We better have a good one for the 35th of Epcot on Sunday.
Sure.
Find one tonight.
I know. Facebook.com/Unmistakably Magic.
If you like what we're doing here on the show and you want to support us, we don't have a Patreon, but we do have unmistakablymagic.spreadshirt.com. Head over there and buy a shirt. Give me a reason to make a Spaceadia shirt. If you don't know what episode we're referring to, neither do I, but go find it.
Right now, yeah. Email us. We'd love to hear questions, comments, shout-outs, whatever. Unmistakablymagic@gmail.com.
What do you guys think of Pandora?
Yeah, have you guys experienced it?
If you have, let us
Is
know.
it that much better at night? I kind of do wish that was like the one thing I was like, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
That and Rivers of Light, but
yeah. Especially since we were waiting so long for Rivers of Light.
I know. I did see the seating for it.
Yeah,
over by Everest.
It was so cool. That's
and they
open during the day.
And they
stuff.
definitely hit it in there well and themed it well, so it looks good.
And it looks like it alleviates a lot of crowd because that area.
Yeah, a lot of people. I noticed a lot of people going down and just sitting down to like eat snacks
whatever,
or hang out or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I do that over at Paradise Pier all the time and Paradise Park.
Yeah,
I'll go grab some food from Carland or Pacific Wharf.
I would say the same thing too with the hub.
Yeah, the
World
expanded seating area
Magic
stuff.
Kingdom where they kind of just built grass areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, that's awesome.
Well, go over to YouTube, search Unmistakably Magic, subscribe to us over there. Check out all of our old shows and our after show that we did a couple of. We probably won't do one tonight.
We haven't done after show for a little bit.
We'll figure it out later.
Schedule conflicts. Schedules are changing a little bit.
Yeah,
trying to work stuff
right
out.
now. I gotta go get up in the morning. Leave us a review on iTunes. We'd appreciate it. Share the show with your friends, both iTunes and YouTube. Just search Unmistakably Magic on both of those.
Actually, my writing professor, he asked, like we had to propose something for our final paper or just start thinking about it. So I was going up to him like, hey, would it be cool to write about this? Haven't talked about it on the show. Can't talk about it on the show until after I write this paper.
Oh.
But it's about original IPs in the parks versus like established IPs. So like Space Mountain and Spaceship Earth and Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion and Figment and stuff versus like Star Wars and Toy Story and Marvel.
That'd be cool.
So
maybe we should do a whole
series on that, episode on that
video.
Yeah,
like a separate video like we did for the hurricane.
Yeah, we could do that.
Big thank you to our friend Dylan over at Blast Off Branding for making our awesome logo. Don't forget to check out our friends at the Unmistakably Star Wars podcast. Those guys are
episode 101.
Are they at 101 already?
Yeah, they're at 101. Well, they were at 100 last week.
They don't seem that far ahead of us. But
weekly show.
That kind of sounds far ahead. Any shout-outs or announcements this week?
Nah, sadly no shout-outs or announcements. But if you guys do have any shout-outs or announcements, email us. Let us know. Comment on something.
Yeah.
Give us a reason.
That's right.
To scream your name or into a microphone. Make it sound like we're screaming it because there are sleeping people in this household.
They're 2 floors away. It's all good.
Well, that just about wraps it up this week.
All right. Have a magical week.
See you real soon.